For as long as I can remember, I have loved books. I've loved reading. I've loved being on stage, speaking. Well, speaking, dancing, singing. To be honest, when I was younger, it didn't even matter. Do I get to be on stage? Teacher, me. I volunteer. It's me. And if you're a Ugandan millennial, you know that that blend of stage presence and a love of books only ever translated into one profession, which is, that one is a lawyer. I hear you. And this demonstrates something about our society. It says that we have long since settled into this idea that only a couple of professions are really important. Only a couple of professions qualify. And this presents a couple of problems, but I'd like to highlight just one. A society where we are all pressed into the same mold, same clothes, same office on the 4th floor of some building, same speak, same everything, so much so that it becomes a difficult thing to really stand out. Now, I never really felt a draw towards the law, but mix the expectations on a first-born Ugandan girl with a lack of meaningful career mentorship, and well, I trained as a lawyer. And I got lost in the sea of lawyers, not because it is a space that is impossible to stand out in, no, but because my heart was not in it. The market is noisy. It is a noisy market. And whatever I do, whatever you do, whatever the person sitting next to you does, probably has already been done, or at least a version of it. So the expression, "there's nothing new under the sun," is actually a fact. And so in trying to stand out, it becomes a difficult thing. I've often found that the response to "there's nothing new under the sun" is either, what's the point? Or, how then can I stand out? You are now thinking, for you, Kemigisha, you did the law. You went with the grain, and now you're standing on a TEDx stage. So please explain, gladly. Would you believe that after studying the law, and not just the 4 years of university, no, my friend, 2 years of postgrad as well, and then almost 5 years in a permanent and pensionable job. Well, now one of the things I say most often is, welcome to our YouTube channel. I communicate for a living. I am a communicator, I'm an MC, I'm a moderator, I'm a social media content creator, I'm a podcaster. Now, this pivot, this very dramatic pivot, how did it bring me here? To this stage, yes, but more importantly, to a place of truly being of service, whether it is as a co-host on an award-winning talk show where, okay, we shake tables now and then, but more importantly, we've built a community where people can have real and raw conversations, or as the team leader at an organization that's equipping young digital content creators in Uganda to own what they do, to professionalize their craft. And I'm not going to take that motivational speaker route and say, here are the 3 simple steps that can get you there in 6 months, because, come on, nuance. Even these 2 tools that I'd like to share with you, I invite you to assess them based on your surroundings, your goals, your audience. And that brings me to my first point. This first tool is context. Context is the environment, the surrounding, the factors in which something exists. When I started creating content on social media, it was about natural hair care. And let me tell you, there were hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of Black women like me sharing the good word of social media all over the world. A good thing, but it did mean it was a difficult thing to get into as well. Now, none of these, understanding context is making sure that you know that, for example, a group of Black women with natural hair is not homogeneous. It actually has subsets inside it. In my case, none of these hundreds of thousands were Ugandan living in Uganda. none of the products that they were referencing were accessible to me and hundreds of Ugandan women like me. And so none of them fit fully into my environment. And that presented an opportunity for me to be a first in a space already occupied by so many. And because my heart was in it, well, I was able to give it my all in a way we didn't even know to expect in 2017 from some Ugandan girl you had never heard of. YouTube videos weekly, Instagram check, WordPress and Tumblr, for those of you in that generation, check. And consistently, that kind of commitment built influence. Now, analyzing context ensures that you can answer two questions. Who do I want to serve? And I'm not talking about the generic women between 25 to 35 in urban areas. No. I'm talking about persona. Chirunji is a university student studying economics at Makerere. She takes a boda to Ntinda 2 days a week to do a part-time job. She eats this for lunch 5 days a week. She does this for fun on Saturdays. Describe her until you can almost see her. Until if you walked out on the street, you would recognize her. And you know what that does? It helps you answer the second question. What problem am I solving? It sounds simple, and yet recently, my colleague and I were speaking to about 40 small business owners, and she asked them, what problem are you solving? Each answer was a description of a product or a service, not the problem. Without you, what consequences do I experience? Without me in 2017, Ugandan women like me who were trying to grow natural hair did not have a point of reference, a local point of reference to enable them to do so with what was available in the space. Now that sounds like a simple thing, and yet 9 or so years later, I still have influence in the natural hair care space. Now let's talk about telling stories. You may have heard it before, but hear me out. Telling stories is a powerful thing. Now more than ever, we are buying people more than we are buying things. We're buying people more than we are buying things. I could buy a piece of clothing from about 100 or so vendors on social media. And yet, why am I wearing this jumpsuit? This fabric, it feels like it holds pieces of its maker's stories that she has intentionally told us. Stories of late nights spent stitching thrifted dreams into something new. Stories of that supplier who ghosted her. Stories of that resilience that has kept her going in spite of, I could pick any jumpsuit off of any rack, but this one feels like a tangible piece of her heart, and so it is set apart. This founder took time to share with me and so many others the stories of her work, and now we have an emotional connection to her art. And the biggest companies in the world have been doing it forever. They've been spending millions of dollars to tell us old stories over and invite us to new ones. Consider, what have you learned on your journey that I can draw from? Tell me more about that. If every piece of messaging from you is buy now, big sale coming, 50% off, well, then you're the same as 50, 70, 100 others. And this doesn't even just apply to goods or services, it applies to you and I, individuals. We live in a time where personal brands, where personal brands are a thing. What does your online persona, what story does that person tell me, the consumer? Let's picture my CV, right? Law, 4 years, post-grad of 2 years, short stint in civil service, social media content creator. As the youth say, it's not giving, is it? But when I got into social media, whether I was talking about natural hair or fashion, I weaved intentionally into it stories of what I felt was wrong with how we were mentoring young people in career. I talked about family expectations, societal expectations, about the financial realities of starting a business in a space that, let's be honest, didn't exist at the time. And you know what people saw? What they heard? They saw an eloquent lady who can moderate panel conversations on the future of work. They saw a social media expert who can lead a digital communications team at a regional program. My stories spoke far louder than my CV ever did or has. Now, the two tools of context analysis and storytelling have been some of the most meaningful in this rather odd journey of this career that I have built. And yet I am persuaded that I would not have had the opportunity to do so had I not first rebelled, had I not first stepped outside the box. To be fair, I stepped outside the box, I burnt it, and then I scattered the ashes. It was all rather dramatic. But these two tools count for so much less if we do not give ourselves, as well as others, the opportunity to explore and to choose. I have a friend, and her sister Harriet reached out to me sometime last year. She asked to have a conversation with me about a conversation we had had 6 years prior, one I still don't remember. She said, she vividly recalls me saying, you know, I got my law degree, I handed it over to my folks, and then I started doing my own things. Okay, that's what we call it, just doing my own things. And at the time we spoke, her daughter was a few months away from university. Harriet and her husband had very different plans. They were hell-bent on the law, but their daughter wanted to do something very different. She said this conversation changed her mind, and the short version is her daughter went on to graduate top of her class and is doing meaningful work in her community. Distinguishing oneself has a lot more to do with setting an intention to be of service. When we tell our young people that a good life looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 professions only, we rob our communities of the excellence that comes from doing something you are designed for. This, make no mistake, is not what you're designed for. This is the cause of mental illness, economic stagnation. Change is uncomfortable. Different is uncomfortable. I've seen how hard it is for small businesses, medium businesses to start telling stories. It was difficult for a parent to enable their child to do a course they weren't so sure about. But let us consider the good side. What comes on the other end of that discomfort? The outliers who pick non-traditional jobs and end up becoming really useful in their communities because of it. Or people like the makers of this jumpsuit who have dared to share the emotional side of the entrepreneurial journey. Wrapped up in discomfort is the opportunity for each and every one of us to serve a specific group of people. And so let us invest, friends. Let us invest in widening, broadening the field of what our young people see as worthy of pursuit, as good, so that they have the opportunity to pivot. They have the freedom to choose, to make mistakes, create, innovate, and ultimately stand out. And so, friends, colleagues, let us ask ourselves, each and every one of us, this question. Where in my life, in my business, in my career, in my parenting and relating with people, where can I permit myself to change my mind? Thank you.